The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. Jesus called the crowd with his disciples and said to them, "If any want to become my followers, let them deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For those who want to save their life will lose it, and those who lose their life for my sake and for the sake of the gospel will save it. For what will it profit them to gain the whole world and forfeit their life? Indeed, what can they give in return for their life? Those who are ashamed of me and of my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, of them the Son of Man will also be ashamed when he comes in the glory of his Father with the holy angels." And Jesus said to them, "Truly I tell you, there are some standing here who will not taste death until they see that the kingdom of God has come with power." The Gospel of the Lord. In today's first reading from James chapter 2, the author clearly sets forth how one is saved, how one is justified. It is a both and. It's both believing, that is, an intellectual assent to the teachings of Christ and his church, and then living it out in love, doing the very things, keeping the commandments, obeying God. When those two are kept together, then a person is justified. And so James says, "What good is it, my brothers and sisters, if you have faith but not works? Faith by itself, if it has no works, is dead." And then he goes all the way back into the Old Testament to pick out the father of faith, Abraham. And he makes the point that Abraham had faith and works. He says, "Was not our ancestor Abraham justified by works when he offered his son Isaac on the altar? You see that faith was active along with his works, and faith was brought to completion by the works." This is confirmed by other writers of the New Testament. St. Paul, for example, in Romans chapter 2, states very clearly that God will render to each person according to their works. To those who are patient in doing good, to those who are seeking good, glory and honor and immortality will be theirs. But for those who are self-seeking, who do not obey the truth, theirs will be wrath and anger. Very clearly he sets that forth. Jesus himself puts forth the same principle in many different passages, but especially in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 25, where he has the parable of the Last Judgment, separating the sheep and the goats. It's based on what a person did. Did they feed the poor, give drink to the thirsty, visit those in prison, and so on? Those people will be set aside for the kingdom of God. St. Paul, however, sees a problem in all of this. In Romans chapter 7, from his own personal experience, he says, "The things I want to do, I don't do. And the things that I hate, I do. What can save me from this situation?" And he says, "Thank God, through Jesus Christ, my Lord." In other words, for all of us, it's God's grace given to us through the death and resurrection of Christ that we are able to bridge the gap between what we know is good and that we do it. And that is the secret to our being saved. In today's gospel, Jesus again makes this point in Mark chapter 8, where he calls the crowd with his disciples and says, "If any want to be my followers, let them deny themselves, take up their cross, and follow me." So it's not just an intellectual assent. It's not just faith alone. It's faith doing the works of love. Let us thank God that we have this reminder this morning to call upon the name of the Lord. And we do that by coming here. Even though it's winter out for sure, we've come here to receive God's grace. And in all the sacraments, grace is poured upon us so lavishly. Let us thank God that today, this morning, is like no other day. It's unique. It never happened before. It will never happen again. It's this day, today, now. And the Eucharist is utterly unique. We're going to receive it now, today, and it will work powerfully in our lives so that we can keep what St. James, St. Paul, and Jesus tell us needs to be done. Let us adore God, who sent his Son, Jesus Christ, to bring us to everlasting life.